Hello, 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 and welcome to 20 Years with a Narcissist. I'm your host, Shakira, and I would like to start with words of affirmations. You are whole, you are complete, you are enough. You are strong, you are brave, you are resilient. You are guided, you are protected, and you are safe. And this here is a safe space. This week's episode is titled Hoovering. You know, like the vacuum, Hoover, suck you right on back into their web, lies and deception, and all things not so great. Yes. Let's do a quick recap of my story for those who have not been following, but I urge you to go back and watch each episode. This is only episode 6, so it won't be hard for you to catch up. Anyway, I met my narc in 2000 when I was in ninth grade. Quickly, we hit it off, and he took my virginity at 15. I was pregnant with our firstborn by 17. At 18, me and my mom's relationship was a little rocky, and so I left and I moved in with him and his father. But then he got married, and his wife did not like me so much. On top of that, my narc, if you will, was, on the streets real heavy, and he would get in the house late or wee hours in the morning, and his father did not like that very much, so he kicked us out. So I went back home. I did that a few times with the narc. I moved out. We moved into a room together. That didn't quite work out. Went back home. Then we moved into a 4-bedroom house. I called that the devil's playground because it was just a lot of tomfoolery that was going on up in there. On top of that, I was giving him money to pay the rent, and he was not paying the rent. So we ended up getting kicked out of there because we were about 3 months behind. Back home I went. So eventually I moved into a Winfield apartment because my cousin had moved up here from Alaska. She didn't like it up here very much, so she went back to Alaska and she broke her lease, or actually gave it to me. She signed it over to me to continue the lease. So once the narc found out that I was back living on my own and no longer at my mom's, he wiggled his way, or hoovered me back in once again, and ended up back at my house, because at that time he was living with someone else who he in my previous episode, I think it was episode 3 part 2, he the girl had got his name tattooed, probably still there. Hopefully she got it covered by now, but who knows and who cares. But he was living with her at the time. He ended up moving back in with me, and I remember her calling me and saying, that she was pregnant by him. Lo and behold, she had an IUD in, and she was not pregnant by him at all. Thankfully for her, because she dodged the bullet. Unlike me, I ended up giving him 5. So at this time, we had 2 children, because my oldest daughter was born in 2009. So this was about 2010, 2011, when I was living in this particular Winfield apartment. I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses at the time. And he moved back in. So when he came in, it's so crazy how, just like in the beginning of a narcissistic relationship, they love bomb you and make you feel so good and so wonderful and so loved. Every time he hoovered me back in, that's what would happen. He would be like my knight in shining armor. He did everything I didn't want for nothing. He was awesome until he wasn't. He was like, for example, he was my son was playing football at the time. He got him into football, so he would be outside playing catch, throwing the ball with my son, helping him, practice and everything like that. He would go to every single game. He was so hands-on and in tune with him during the practices that the coaches ended up making him an assistant coach. Like, that's how, just awesome he was being. My son was probably about 6 at the time. So, other things that, so as time went on, vivid things that I can remember during this time. I remember getting really sick. Rewind before I jump into that. He started to go back to his old ways. Let's just say that. So it always starts off pretty subtle. It's like, your eyebrows are raised and you're like, what you got going on? What's going on? Phone calls that he's ignoring, staying out late. So he stayed out late, one too many times for my liking. So I caught myself, getting them back, or, excuse me, not caring about doing something that I wanted to do, no matter, if it affected him or not. Me not being the type that lie, because I'm not a liar, I wasn't good at it at all. So he ended up seeing right through it. So this one particular night, like, I worked the overnight shift at this time. Like, I was a nurse. I got my nursing license December 09. So by February of 2010, I was working as a nurse. So 2010 to about the end of 2011, when I ended up moving out of the Winfield apartment, I was working the overnight shift. So one night I got dressed as if I was going to work, but I had an outfit, jewelry, makeup, everything in my nursing bag. I had took out all of my nursing stuff and put in my going out stuff, because Shorty was going out. I was going outside. When you want to go outside, you want to be out all hours of the night. You get home when you feel like it. Don't tell me where you been or gaslight me and tell me some lie. Well, you know what? Two could play that game. So yeah, all right, going to work, honey. Have a good night. Love you. Mwah. And then I moseyed on outside. So now, my work shift probably didn't start till about 10, 11 at night. And, who I was going to go meet up with, my friends, it was actually a married couple, that I was, the man of the couple was somebody that I grew up with. His girlfriend I ended up meeting in 2007 when I did the American Idol auditions. We were, I was actually on SEPTA at the time, and we met up at the American Idol auditions, and he, introduced me to her, and we just hit it off and remained friends. So I went to meet them at the club, and they had already been drinking, and so I had to play catch up. Now, no, I hadn't eaten, which was definitely my bad, but I had ended up pouring some vodka, because I was a vodka girl. That's all I drank was the white. Vodka was my choice, my drink of choice, if you will. So I filled it up in a spring water bottle. So, everything is looking real like I'm going to work, right? So I was actually on something at that time, or I think this was around the time where he ended up he was using my vehicle. He wouldn't let me drive because my license was suspended. So, but I really think I don't think I had a vehicle at the time. I couldn't have, but even if I did, I wouldn't have wanted him to drop me off where I was going. So I probably chalked it and said I was catching something. Either way, I was on something, drinking that water bottle of vodka on the way there on an empty stomach. So I was trying to eat like some crackers or something, because I knew better. But it was just like, dang, I got to play catch up though. I don't want to get there and be all sober or whatever the case. And then when I get there, I'll get a drink and I'll just slow sip that joint, because, I done pretty much drank this half a bottle of vodka. So we get there, and I'm having myself a good old time. I was actually being a naughty girl at the time. Full transparency, I ended up having a foursome that night with the married couple. They had somebody else that they usually bring in, that they have a threesome with, and I was just the fourth wheel, and it was an awesome night, and no regrets at all, because all the cheating that he did on me, it was just like, are you kidding me? I could care less. So what happened, and I enjoyed myself. But I feel like whenever I do those type of things, I end up suffering the consequences for it. So it was not something that I did on a regular basis. I did it that time, and then another time when I told him I was going to go cheat on him, but and that ended up horrible as well. Anywho, I got home because I don't get off to the morning time, right? So I couldn't get back home. I had to get back home within the time frame that I would usually get back home from work. So, spend the night with them, got back home, 7, 8 in the morning, whatever the case, and passed clean out. So I ended up getting up, and I remember throwing up my whole entire life. That's where his eyebrow got raised at. Like, hold up, what the heck is going on here? Like, why are you throwing up like this? And I'm like, I don't know. I must have ate something bad. I'm sure I told him some type of lie. And but I could not stop throwing up, y'all, because y'all know I drank on that empty stomach, and that was a huge mistake. I ended up They ended up ordering food and I ate, but eating after drinking for me, it always ends in a disaster. And I don't think I all the way knew that back then, but that was one of the times where I learned something about myself where, okay, I absolutely have to eat beforehand, and there's no eat. Once I start drinking and I get fully into it, there's no eating afterwards, because then I'm gonna bring everything up. So it got so bad that I ended up having to call 911 to come get me, because I think he ended up leaving. Like, he was just like, all right, you're clearly sick or whatever, because he didn't care. If he cared, he would have stayed and nursed me, to help, or tried to figure out what was wrong with me, whatever the case. But he did not, because I vividly remember calling 911 to come get me. And I went to the hospital, and it was pretty much alcohol poisoning. He, gave me some IV fluids, some anti-nausea meds, and kept me there until I was able to eat some crackers and drink some juice and keep it down without throwing it up. Then I got discharged. But while I was at the hospital, y'all, he goes through my nursing bag, because he just was like, nah, this 1 + 1 is not equaling 2. Like, the math was not mathing for him, okay? So he goes in my nursing bag. I get home and my whole nursing bag is dumped out. Remember, I had the going out clothes in there, right? My jewelry, makeup, everything. So now he done figured it out. I had money somewhere. I don't know if I had a wallet there, if I left it on. I don't know where the money was at, but I remember he took it. It was maybe around $100. He took the money and he went to the strip club. Like, he decided, oh, okay, so that's what we doing. We going outside instead of going to work like you said you're doing. Well, I'm gonna go ahead outside as well. So, I remember him telling me, I don't know if it was after the fact that he went to a strip club and that's where he spent my money at, or he might have texted me right then and there, like, oh, so you went. He sent me pictures of it. And was like, oh, so I thought you went to work. You went to work, huh? Okay, that's why I took your money and I spent it at the strip club on the strippers or whatever the case. So, yeah, the narc came back out full blown. Like, here I am, the mask is off. The love bombing is out the window. I'm about to start, treating you how I've been treating you, and oh, well, take it or leave it type time, right? So, once that wheel started rolling, it just didn't stop. So, one time he had took my son to school. He had dropped him off at school and hit him in the face and made his nose bleed. And next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call from the school talking about my son was crying. He came to school crying. His nose was bloody. And I'm like, what the heck did he do to my child? And it was over something dumb. He left his book bag in the house. He had to go in and get it. And I don't know if that slowed the narc up, because no, he still was on the streets and still selling what he was selling. So he probably had a customer waiting for him. He might have lost the customer and they went somewhere else because my son was taking too long to come back outside. I'm telling you, life was crazy. So he ends up hitting him and not even realizing that he caused his nose to bleed. And now DHS is in my life. This was the first time DHS came into my life and into my home. So I think the principal, the counselor, the teacher had me come in. I want to say my narc was there as well. But either way, we had a meeting and we talked about it. And I made it clear that, my son did not, get abused. They wanted to make sure he wasn't getting abused. So, I made it clear that wasn't the case. This was a one-time thing, it'll never happen again. So, of course, talking to the narc, I was just like, look, you can't, like, if you're going to hit him, you can't hit him in his face. Never, ever, ever hit him in his face, because I don't feel like no issues. Lo and behold, they had already opened up a case. Within a couple days, it was nighttime. I remember them knocking on my door, and I opened up the door, and they like, I said, who is it? And it's like, oh, this is DHS. We're here on suspicion of child abuse. Say what? Y'all, when I tell y'all my blood was boiling, like it just felt like somebody disrespected me in the worst way. Like, I just was furious on the inside. I wasn't going to open the door, but I was like, I don't want to create more problems for myself. So let me just open the door and let these people in and let them see that there's nothing, going on. There's no abuse being had. So just come on, let's get this over with. Let them in. I was so unhospitable. Like, no, you can't sit down. No, you can't have nothing to drink. No, I don't care about you. Why are you here? You know what I'm saying? So then that's when they told me that, they got a report from the school and they had to come and assess the situation. So I don't know if y'all know about DHS and how they come and infiltrate your life. And that's the reason why I was like, that's the reason why I was like so appalled and I felt so disrespected, because it was like, well, we got to check the toilet and make sure it flushes. We have to look in your fridge and make sure it's food in there. We have to make sure the refrigerator is running and it's on. We have to make sure the electricity works. We have to make sure the gas is running and turn the water on until it got hot, to make sure he had hot water, to make sure he was getting bathed and fed. Where does he sleep at? Does he have a bed to sleep in? His own, like, it was like a violation. It was like an extreme and utter violation. And I was just so appalled. So once they violated me, if I got finished, taking it from the back raw with no condom and no lube, that's how I felt. I kindly let them out and they were like, okay, well, we got what we needed. And, if there's no, according to your story and what you told us, and after talking to my son and him saying like, he's not getting beat every day or abused on a regular basis, they ended up throwing the case out. Thank goodness. So, that just pissed me off to the 10th power. Like, I was so mad at him and I was just like, look what you did. Like, please don't ever do this to me ever again in life. That, of course, that wasn't the last time. Unfortunately, it was not the last time. And my poor firstborn, he got it the worst, because when DHS was back in my life, fast forward to him being 16. Yeah. I'm gonna tell y'all about that when we get there though. Let's try to stay on track with the storyline, shall we? So, so this was 2010, 2011, and he spent my money. I had that little situation, ended up at the hospital. He stayed out, did his thing. So by October of 2011, I found out I was pregnant with our third child. Within a few months, I ended up finding a phone. It was his phone, actually. So I thought, he was slipping on his pimping and ended up leaving his phone out, even though I'm not really one of them types to like pick up nobody's phone and go through your man's phone like, oh, let me see who you doing, what you doing. I'm not really the type, but I'm dealing with a narc here, and he's been cheating on me since we met, and I just, something made me say, pick up that phone. Picked up the phone, and no SIM card, the thing didn't work. And so when he came home, I was like, okay, so you got a new phone and you ain't tell me about it? You know what I'm saying? I guess he must have kept the same number, which is why I was so, maybe that's why he didn't feel the need to tell me he had gotten a new phone. But are you serious? So lo and behold, I was like, let me see the phone. He gives me the phone, unlock it, you know what I mean? Because clearly you got something to hide since you didn't tell me about the phone. So the first number, on, like in this call log, didn't have a name on it. So I called it. I called it. I said, like, hello? Who this? Click, she hangs up. So I called her back to back. Like, sis, I'm going to keep calling you until you answer the phone and tell me who you is. I want to know who this is calling my husband. Because at this time we were married. We got married in 2008, remember? So I asked him who it was, and he was like, I don't know. The number was in the phone when I bought it. Yeah. If you've been following along, I'm pretty sure I told this part of the story already, but I was jumping around, and I'm just trying to go in time order, if you will. So, that was the final straw for me that made me want to leave. And it was like, I can't just keep leaving and going back to my grandma's house, because that's what I've been doing all these years, right? I was at grandma's house in 2009 when I had my daughter, and then I moved out, I let the fool back in, and now here we are again. So I did initially go back to grandma's at first because I just had to get away from him. And this was probably, like I said, the end of the year. So I remember staying with my grandma until I moved to Florida. So, my dad had gave me an out. He was like, look, my sister and my brother is in Florida, and they're willing to let you come and move in with them. So, and because he was moving down to Florida as well, and it was like, okay, until I get my own space in place and you can come live with me until you get on your own feet, go ahead down there with them so you can at least get away from this man, because I'm going to end up taking his head off. That's just how my dad felt, right? So 2012, about April, I moved to Florida. At the time, it was the best move ever. Like, I just was elated because it was like, oh my goodness, this is how family is supposed to treat you. Like, this is just such a blessing. And I mean, when I tell y'all, like, because I was pregnant. So by the time I got down here, I was probably about 7 months pregnant. And they ran bath water for me. They made me food. They fed me. They made me plates. Like, your plate ready, it's on the table. Like, what? Like, I was always the one cooking and making plates and feeding other people with him and our children, you know. Even my mom, she always stayed with me. She was like my built-in babysitter. So every time I got pregnant and had a kid, she was right there with me. So y'all know, when I moved to Florida, she was devastated. Like, you moving to Florida? What do you mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? Now, she called herself an empty nester because she didn't have any kids to take care of. You know, me and my sister are grown. She only had us two, and I gave her grandkids at such an early age. She was 32 when I had my firstborn. So, you know, I had my oldest daughter, and now here I am pregnant with her third grandchild, and I'm moving with everybody because we're a package deal. Wherever I go, my kids go. So I left. So, of course, the narc felt betrayed as well. Like, what? You taking my kids from me? Are you serious? Yes, I'm dead serious because you're going to kill me. And I'm not going to allow you to kill me, sir. That's what we're not about to do. Like, I got to get away from you. So I did. So upon moving down there, like I said, I was treated like a princess. Like, life was great. Couldn't ask for anything better. My aunt greeted me at the airport with open arms. Any toiletries or anything that I didn't have, she took me shopping to pick up everything that I needed. Now, no, I went down there with almost $4,000 in the bank. That's why I stayed at my grandma's for a few months, because I wanted to get my money up. I know I have this baby on the way, and I have to provide everything for her. My daughter was 2. I had gotten rid of most of the stuff. I didn't know I was going to get pregnant right again, back to back like that, but I did have some things. So I said, okay, God knew what he was doing by giving me another girl so that I didn't have to have everything from scratch. But for the most part, I had to get, you know, the stroller, the crib, the car seat, the bassinet. Like, I had to buy all of that stuff. So by June, when I gave birth to her, like, I depleted that whole account, was empty. So I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated my aunt for everything that she did. All the money she spent on us, you know, while I was there. I did get food stamps. So I was helping provide food in the home. But that's all I could provide. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a source of income, even to get WIC at the time, because I was pregnant in Florida. In order to receive WIC, you had to have some kind of a source of income. So my uncle, who also lived there, so my uncle lived upstairs with his wife and his 3 children, right? So it was a 3-bedroom up there with their own bath. And then on the bottom floor, my aunt lived in the master bedroom with her own bathroom and her son. But her son stayed upstairs in the room with the boys, because it was 2 boys and 3 boys. My uncle had two boys and a girl, and my aunt just had her 1 son. So, you know, the boys stayed. They bunk bedded up. They were all in one room, and the princess, she had her own room, and she ended up giving up her room for me. Like, she let me, and she slept on a not a blow up mattress. They had a pull out couch. Like a bed that pulled out into a couch that pulled out into a bed in the living room, and she slept down there. So I just was so thankful and grateful, y'all. So, you know, that's how we set it up. But my uncle had dang, what was I saying about my uncle? He had to write me a source of income. So he had wrote me a letter for the WIC office saying that, you know, he was paying me $100 a month just for, you know, my living expenses, if you will. So I was able to get WIC down there through that. So I'm like, okay, since I'm not working, I'm pregnant, I'm about to drop this baby soon, let me go ahead and further my nursing education. So I was going to go back for my RN. So I started doing it online. But that didn't work out because it wasn't expensive. It was like $200 and something a month. But because I didn't have a source of income, I was able to keep up with it for about 2 months before, you know, my income got depleted because I had to buy everything for the baby. I don't have anything coming in. I couldn't keep up with the program, so I got dropped. So, but my aunt they ended up having like a surprise baby shower for me. I was so surprised and so thankful and grateful. It was so amazing. So whatever I didn't get from the baby shower, I still had to purchase, like I said. So I ended up spending all that money. But anywho, I did not want my child to not have her father present for her birth. He was there for the first two. You are not about to miss the third because I chose to leave the state and move somewhere else. We're not going to do that. So his sister, I pretty much asked her if, she could make it my birthday / Christmas / whatever gift for the next however many years, like just ball it all up at one. If you could pay for him to get down here to Florida. So that would be a flight to and from, because he would have to return back to Philadelphia. Rental car, because in Florida you have to have a vehicle to get around. I don't think Uber and Lyft existed just yet. And a hotel stay. He had to stay somewhere because he surely wasn't about to stay at my aunt and uncle house, right? So he came down there and he stayed for 5 days. And I packed up a suitcase and took me and my 2 children and went to stay at the hotel with him. Big mistake, I reckon, because when I tell y'all, my folks felt like I literally betrayed them. Like, how dare you, A, invite him down here, B, leave with a suitcase to go stay with him, like for the whole 5 days. Like, what? After like 3 days, I had to actually return back to the house, my aunt and uncles, to get more clothes and Pampers and different things that me and the kids may have needed. And when I got there, y'all, like the energy in the house was so stale and stagnant. Like nobody was talking to me. Like it was just like I was like somewhat disowned. Like, oh no, you done messed up. You done messed up. We don't even want to talk to you, child. And the kids and everybody, like the kids, they were teenagers and, like 13 to 16. And then the youngest was the same age as my son. So they were about 6 at the time because I was pregnant with his mom. So they were like a month apart, my firstborn and my uncle's youngest son. And it was just like, wow, uh-oh. Like, I guess I rubbed y'all the wrong way. It wasn't my intention. I just wanted my child to have her father present for her birth. That's all I wanted. It wasn't about him. Like, he was going back. He wasn't going to stay here. Like, why are y'all so angry? But as others heard about the story, and as I even told my story to others, recently, even when I did an interview on Love, Lust, and Lies, the Dr. Dana, like, she was just like, yeah, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Like, for good reason, if they felt like that towards you. And I'm like, really? So I bought that? I deserve that? Because it just felt so wrong and it felt so horrible. So as awesome as it was when I got down there, the switch was flipped. Completely flipped. From then on, they started teasing and bullying my son. My aunt, like, I would talk to her about things. Like, for example, I wanted to give birth to my child at a particular hospital. And she was just like, no, I'm not driving all the way over there. I'm not paying. You got to pay for tolls. That's a 45-minute drive. I think she exaggerated it a bit. But to her, that was out of the way when you could just go right here to Brandon Hospital, where I ended up having her. Well, that's like 10, 15 minutes away. But the way everybody was describing this hospital, it was not a good hospital. It was like, girl, do not have your baby there. Like, at the doctor's office, at the WIC office where I would go, and they like, well, where you gonna have her at? And I would say, they'd be like, no, don't do it. And I was like, oh snap. So that scared me, and it made me feel like I have to find another route. I have to find another hospital. Like, I'm not from here. So why wouldn't I listen to the residents who's lived here all their lives tell me not to do that? So, so that was so I ended up, calling my dad, hey dad, your sister not trying to, take me to this hospital I want to have my baby at. Can you talk to her? I said, well, what's the reason? Is it about money? Is it just the gas and the tolls? Because I can get my dad to send you some money so I can have my baby where I want to have her at. Pissed her clean off. pissed her clean off. She was just like, no way. How, like, it was like I called and told on her, like I snitched. And she ain't like that. She ain't like that at all. So, I was on her bad side. It was like not talking to me. She used to do my hair because she's good at doing hair. She would not do my hair. She just would not cater to me the way that she was before. Out the window. My uncle was pissed that when I did come back from the hotel to go get the clothes and stuff, he was upset at the fact that I told, well, now my narc knew his address. So it was like, you told him where I live? You let him know where I live? Is you serious? Like, his temper was, I mean, it was very short, and he would blow a whole entire gasket. So, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Like he has a car. Like, how else am I supposed to get back and forth? Y'all wasn't about to take me back and forth to the hospital. I mean, to the hotel. So what was my option? I needed more stuff for the babies. Like, I had to come back. So he was mad at me now. So, and then his wife, oh my goodness, she was just on some type of time. Like, she turned the kids against me. She turned the kids against me and my son, and that's why they started bullying them. They started calling them fat boy, shut up, fatty, fat. I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear him. He would be out there in the little corridor where they used to play the game at, right outside the bedroom, and I would hear them teasing him and telling him to shut up and all kind of things, y'all. And I would have to go out there and get him like, son, come here, son. Come lay down. It's time for bed. It would be like 2:00 in the morning anyway. Like, why are y'all still up? But it was the summertime, so come on. Come lay down, baby. Excuse me. So, I'm sorry. Because it's a hard memory. Like, it really got so bad, and I just couldn't believe this same loving family just turned on me like I was a stranger or somebody, that just literally betrayed them. So now comes time for me to give birth, and I'm having the child at the hospital that you forced me to have her at, and nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. So it was just me, the narc, and our children. And so now, in order for him to be able to see the child be born, we had to get rid of the kids, because children can't be in the waiting room by themselves, and they can't come into the delivery room either. So now I'm calling my aunt like, Auntie, I know we not on the best of terms, but in order, we went through all of this for him to get here. I need the kids to come back to the house so that he can see the kids be born. I know my uncle don't want him at his house, but what are my options? What am I supposed to do? Can he please drop the kids off? Because now I'm already hooked up to machines. They ended up keeping me. So he's the only one that can bring him back. So she allowed it. My uncle wasn't happy about it at all. But what choice did I have? So nobody came and saw me, the baby at the hospital at all. Because you're there for 2 days after you give birth. And nobody showed up. And not only that, now it's time for me because the narc, his time was up. So within the 2 days, he was there to see the child be born. But the next day, he had to leave. The hotel stay was up. The rental car was due back. And his flight he had to go catch a flight. So on day 2, when it was time for me to come home, nobody came and got me and the baby from the hospital. Instead, while I was in the hospital, my uncle ends up calling me and snapping on me about my daughter having diaper rash. No, she was 2 years old at the time. And she was transitioning from the diaper to, or pull-ups to underwear. I was potty training her. Being as though she was at the hotel with her dad for that one night without me. And then he had to take them to my aunt's the next day. The day after, when I had her, he learned about the diaper rash. He called and cussed me out. Why does this baby have diaper rash like this? Are you serious? Y'all, he just felt like we were neglectful. I said, Uncle, no, I just got finished having a baby. My hormones are crashing down because they increase. Everything increases when you're pregnant. So now I done had the baby and everything is dropping. So I'm emotional as crap, and he's just like laying it on me. So now I'm bawling my face off, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? And nobody showed up to pick me up. I had to catch a cab home with my child. Yep, I had to catch a cab, and I had to use a voucher. I didn't have any money, and nobody would pay, and nobody would come get me. So they gave me a hospital voucher. I remember crying the whole way there. And then by the time I got there, y'all, it wasn't over. They tag teamed me. So it was my aunt who was mad about the hospital choice and me snitching to my dad. It was my uncle and allowing him to come to my house and coming to his house and disrespecting his house. And then his wife was mad about me asking her son if he could play, because she told her son, as they were 6 years old, the boys, that he did not have to allow my son to play his video game. And I said, well, why not? Because my mom said, I don't have to let him. And he said it with an attitude, with his neck rolling and everything. Like she said it to him like that. So he then delivered it to me like that. And I'm looking at this 6-year-old with a kind heart, because I'm like, I know you were coached. And I know that this adult who is now feeling some type of way about me, it has delivered her anger and frustration towards me to you, and now you're delivering it to me. So I'm not going to receive it that way. I said, sweetheart, at the end of the day, that's your cousin. You know what I'm saying? And y'all family. And I understand that your mom said you don't have to, but it's at the end of the day, if you want to, you can. Like, you know, y'all supposed to love each other. Y'all supposed to care for each other. Y'all supposed to have each other's back. Y'all not supposed to like mistreat each other and do each other dirty like that. You know what I'm saying? And his sister, you know, was outside of the bedroom listening, and went and called her and told her that I said he had to let my son play the game. I never said he had to do anything. How can I tell somebody what they have to do with something that doesn't belong to me? Like, what? But she was an instigator. And now that I'm like the enemy, I'm the op now. I'm literally the op. I'm on the opposite side. I'm the opposer to the family now. So now she's going to treat me as such. So now she's calling her mom and telling her how I said these things. So now when I get home from the hospital with my newborn baby, they all are tag teaming me about the different reasons that they were feeling some type of way about me. 3 against 1. It was a nightmare. And it just didn't end until my uncle kicked me out. So fast forward to the house, it was so many people in there. So no, my aunt, my uncle, there are 3 kids, my aunt, her son, me, my son, my daughter, and then the baby I just had. That was 11 people living in one house. Living in a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, y'all. We went through food so fast it would make your head spin off your body. Like, I mean, and I was getting like $800 in food stamps, and I would put all the food in the house. So while I was pregnant, I remember I had to like stash food in a closet so that I would actually have something to eat, because they would eat the food so fast that I wouldn't have anything. We would run out of food and I wouldn't have anything to eat. And I'm the one putting all the food in there. So, you know, fast forward to this day where we were down to just packs of oodles and noodles. Okay. I was upstairs with the baby, and my son was downstairs, and I heard them, you know, because at this point I know that they messing with my child. I know they fucking with him. So it's just like, nah, enough is enough. You know, I got to keep an eye out on I know I'm the op now. So now both my antlers are raised and I'm on full alert, you know, about mine, because no mama bear is going to play about her cubs. Okay. So I got the door open and I'm listening and whatever the case. So you hear, you know, my son say, you know, leave me alone. And because they're bullying him, they're verbally bullying him. And he has the noodles in his hands, and the one who's the same age as him, the one who wouldn't let him play his game, the one who would say, shut up, fat boy, ain't nobody talking to you, and all of this and that, he treated him the worst. 6 years old, y'all. I heard him smack the pack of noodles out his hands. Told him, shut up, fat boy. He said, he pushed him. Because what my son would get so angry, like he could only take but so much. We're human beings, right? But my son being the type of child that he was, he could only take but so much. So once that he would puff up and get mad and then get physical. And previous to that, they would make my son kneel on his knees on steps, holding up dictionaries whenever he would get physical with his cousin, because he kept messing with him. Like, leave my child alone. And I caught myself trying to talk to my aunt about it, the one who lived downstairs, and she said, girl, he a boy. Boys get teased all the time. I mean, at least when he outside, he'll have tough skin. At least when other people outside bully him, it'll be nothing. It'll roll off his back. When we teased each other when we was kids, I'm saying, it ain't a girl just... He'll get tougher skin because of it. He'll tell him to learn how to get his comeback on. Like, make him tell him, say, he's skinny this and da-da-da-da. Call me fat, but you skinny. What? Like, your home where you live is supposed to be your safe space, your safe place. You're supposed to have peace there. And instead, this is where your turmoil is. He started playing football with him on the football team, the 6-year-old, and they would tease him to and from practice. If he messed up during the practice, they would tease him about where he would mess up at. They just stopped pouring love and care into us and literally started attacking. It got so bad. So now by the time he done knocked these noodles out my son's hand, my son pushed him and said, leave me alone. All I'm trying to do is eat like y'all eating. His sister, who at the time was like 14, jumps up and pushes my son and said, don't push my brother. Y'all, the way I jumped up out the bed with my baby, because I had my baby in my hand. The way I hauled ass down the motherfucking steps to get to my child, I was over it. And the entire time, I had never raised my voice, disrespected anyone in that house, because I was still thankful that they were letting me be there, right? But a person can only take but so much. I got down them steps, and now everybody's trying to play dumb. And no, he pushed me first. He did it. Shut the fuck up. I'm sick of y'all messing with my child. I totally lost it. Forgot that I had a freaking newborn in my arms. She got the full blast of that. The negative energy, the deep voice, the tone, the cussing, all of it. My baby absorbed all of that. But I was livid and I had enough. So now, of course, my uncle upstairs hearing me curse his kids out. Oh, I had him all the way messed up, okay? All the way chopped and screwed. So he comes down behind me and was like, with an even bigger, deeper voice, no, you're not going to talk to my kids like that. Matter of fact, get the fuck out my house. Get out now. Straight like that. Straight like that. I kindly walked right on up them steps and packed my shit up so that I could get the fuck out his house. Because that's what I was indeed going to do. I don't want to be here anymore anyway. I hate it here. Where I once loved it at, I hate it here. Get me out of here now. Now, note, my son had a play date the following day with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I didn't have a car. So in order to get my family were Christians. They went to church. They didn't, delve into Jehovah's Witnesses. So they weren't taking me to and from, the Kingdom Hall. They weren't going to do that. So I had some amazing people who lived right around the corner from them who agreed to come and pick me. They would pick me up and drop me off. So they had a child that was around the same age as my son. And I was able to, and he was going on a play date. He was coming, they was picking him up to take them to hit their house so that they could have a play date. So she came and picked them up. And I made it seem like everything was normal. Everything was A-okay. But my son, with his big old mouth, he's his mama's child. He went right on over there and told him, that we were about to move. So she was confused. Like, wait, what? Y'all about to move? Like, since when? Like, she told me about this or whatever the case, right? So she called me up while they were over there playing, and she's like, "Hey, how's it going? Everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, yeah." Like, why you ask? And she's like, "No, because your son is saying something about y'all moving." So I said, "Oh crap." I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's true." She was like, what happened?" I said, "Well, this is my uncle's house, and things got a little heated last night, and he asked me to leave." So my dad is actually, at that time, my dad was trying to find like a room or somewhere for me to go to so that I didn't come back to Philadelphia, because I don't have nowhere else to go. I don't know nobody else in Florida. So what were my options here? I'm coming home. I'm gonna go ahead and come home. So my dad is my only way home. So or I could call up other family members possibly and say, "Hey, can y'all scrounge together some money to get me a flight home so I can get back the way that I got there?" Because it was a one-way ticket when I moved to Florida. So, but my dad didn't want that. He didn't want me to get back into the narcs, into his grasp. So he was just like, "No, you're not coming back here. I don't care what I have to do. You're not coming back here." So I told, Jehovah Witnesses that, and they were like, "Well," because it was just her husband, and they had 2 boys. And she was like, "Well, we have a spare room. We have an extra room. You could come stay here until your dad," because my dad was moving down. This was June. I had her in June. So, I think I had her at the end of June. So this had to be July when all of this, it happened over, of course, of weeks, just of course of a few weeks, because my dad moved down in August, and I only stayed with them for maybe 4 to 6 weeks. So, they let us in, and y'all, when I tell y'all, when she said that they had a spare room and I could stay there, I broke down. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Oh my God. Like, I just couldn't believe that strangers were willing to let me into their home. Like, y'all don't even know me, and y'all letting me in your house. I just felt so blessed, so I did that. I ended up moving over there, and I stayed till my dad got there. And then, shit kind of hit the fan over there too, because my son, the 2 boys, like they're boys. Boys are going to be boys, right? So they play fight, all the things. But their dad was a Jamaican, and he was very strict and everything like that. And my son, like I said, when he get angry, or even if he played too much, he would get physical. And he felt like my son was able to possibly hurt one of his kids. I think one was his age and the other one was like 2 years younger. Like, they were like 4 and 6. And they got into it, and I think my son hit him. I don't know if it was on purpose or accident or what have you, but I remember us having like a family, like a meeting, and they were like, "Look, your son can't put his hands on my kids. He could have really hurt him," something like that. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Like, please forgive me." And I talked to my son and made sure, that never happened again, right? Oh, because my son is he's such a good boy, y'all. And he only acts like that when provoked. One of the boys touched his penis. That's what happened. He touched his penis, and he ended up kicking him across the room, and he hit the back of his head on the wall. That's what happened. Was when I tell y'all, when my son get riled up, if y'all see him now, y'all, he about 5'8", 280 pounds, size 13 shoe, the boy husky. So when they called him fat boy, he really wasn't. He even had a 6-pack and everything at the time, playing football. He was working out, on the team, and he wasn't fat, but he was just chunky or husky. He was always husky. It was never sloppy, fat, or rolls or nothing like that, because I ain't play that. But his natural build, his dad is Nigerian, like, he just was on the stockier side. So even still to this day, that's just his make and model. That's his build. So when he gets mad, though, when he hit hard. My baby hit hard. Don't touch my penis. Why you touching like, what's wrong with you? You tripping. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if the little boy did it on purpose, like he was playing and grabbed it, or if he fell into it. Either way, my son kicked the boy across the room. So it was like, and then after he had to meet, and it's, it was like, make sure your son don't put hands on my kids again, because he could have really hurt them, which I agreed with. It was like, look, it was an accident. He wasn't trying to cause him extreme harm. He was protecting himself. It was a reflex. You know what I mean? You know, as long as your kids are not doing anything to, you know, make him feel like he got to protect himself, you'll never have that problem again. But I'll talk to him and make sure he understands his strength so that he doesn't use it in a way that could, you know, cause somebody harm on a level that could get him in trouble. So, but he ended up beating the crap out of his son for touching my son's penis too. Jamaicans don't play that, child. He wasn't having that. Don't you ever, I don't care if it was an accident or whatever the case, don't you ever put your hands on no boy's penis. Okay? Period. And another thing, I think my son ended up, like, he was greedy. He was husky for a reason. But they had a pantry, and he was trying to climb up the pantry to get to the snacks, so they kept the snacks up high, and he ended up breaking the shelf. I remember, because did I end up working by then? I don't know if I was working or not yet. Probably not. No, I still had this newborn. I couldn't go to work. And I didn't have a vehicle to get back and forth anyway. So I remember them saying, you know, he broke the thing, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. So now I'm starting to feel like, and no matter where I go, if it's not my own house, my own space, it's going to be problems. And I don't want no problems with nobody. I never want problems. Like, who would want that? Like, these people don't let me into their house, and now it's thing after thing. It was, those are the only two vivid things I can really remember. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think it was too much else, but I didn't want to wait for a third thing. I just was like, okay, Dad, where are you? Get your butt down here. I have to get out of these people's house before they end up kicking me out like Uncle did. You know, my uncle still had my access card. He ended up spending almost all my food stamps, knowing that was my only source of feeding me and my kids. Is you know, the people already allowed me into their house. They shouldn't have to feed me and everything as well. I had my own stamps. Let me at least provide the food for me and my kids. But, you know, my uncle was in his bag. He was in his feelings. You done kicked me out. Now you going to take and use my food stamps. So, but it was what it was. I ended up going to go get my card back. I was supposed to do my hair. She ended up saying, no, I'm not doing your hair no more. Like, they literally just kind of cut me off and threw me out. So it was what it was. My dad finally came down there with his second wife, because he divorced my mom in 2015 and got remarried on my birthday. They got married on my birthday when I was 18. And, he came down with her, and they had my little sister. She was born. So, because she was a year younger than my son. Yup, she was a year younger than my son. So, she's 19. Yeah, she's 19. My son is about to be 21. So they're a year and a half apart. And, he came down there with his wife and his daughter, and I moved in with them. So now it's me and my 3 kids, and them and their one. So his wife just wasn't up for the task, because now I have to work. I have to go to work. I have to make income. There's no way. So now we're talking about September 2012. And I started working. I was a nurse. So I started working at this agency, and I was working overnight again. I worked overnight the first half of my nursing career. So my dad was working in the daytime. So my dad would work during the day, and I would be trying to get some sleep, and I would get up and take care of my kids. But then my dad would get home, and then I would go to work overnight. So his wife was kind of left there to take care of the kids in the in-between time, you know, and it was too much for her. It was too much for her. She only had one child. That was her firstborn. She didn't know, she wasn't equipped to handle that many children by herself. She just wasn't up for the task. So she ended up taking her daughter and going back to Philadelphia and leaving my dad high and dry. So made my dad sick to his stomach. He couldn't handle it at all. And the last thing my dad was about to do was kick me out like his uncle did. I mean, like his brother did. My uncle, his brother. So he ended up just suffering through not having his child there with him. Like, he was literally crying himself to sleep every night. It was bad. And I just couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't tolerate it. So I ended up reaching out to the narc. We swing back around to the narc. And I kept him in a loop for the most part, because at the end of the day, these are his children, and I wasn't about to completely X him out of their lives. I always said I would never keep him from him, but he left. He gave me no other choice. Like, I had to get out. I had to get away. But I learned, and I realized that running away from my problems is not how you deal with them. You have to deal with them head on. You gotta, you know, muster up some strength. Like, you know, you got to figure something out to learn how to set boundaries and not deal with him anymore as a mate, as a spouse, and just co-parent with the man, or, you know what I mean, just be married to him and deal with his stuff. But trying to run away from the problem and think that that was going to work, it just did not. So I ended up reaching out to him and letting him know what the situation was. And I was just like, look, I need some money. I got to move out of here and get my own spot. In Florida, you, unlike, you know, Philly, being born and raised there, you don't need first, last, and security to, in order to move in. They just wanted $500 security and you could move in. Now, nope, my rent was $1,000 a month, but you only needed $500 to move in. So I was like, look, can you send me the $500 so I can go ahead and apply, you know, move it to this spot. I did all the paperwork and everything, and they were willing to let me in. I just needed the money. He sent me the money, but that gave him permission to, like, well, I'm going to move in with you. Clearly you need me and you can't do this by yourself. So how about I just come down there with you? Wait, what? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna just move down there with y'all. Really? On his own accord. I didn't ask him for nothing. Now, nope. The man done caused some problems for himself in Philadelphia, so he was really just running away. Like I was, trying to run from my problems. He ended up with another woman. The woman ended up reaching out to me. Wow. So I said, okay, listen. If you're going to move down here, I need you to make sure that it's your decision alone. I'm not coercing you. I'm not asking you to come down here. I don't even really want you to come down here. But at the end of the day, me moving away, not only to try to save myself, but I want my family. I always wanted my family. So some part of me hoped that he would get himself together and come and get us. You know what I'm saying? Come get your family and stop playing games. Like, what is going on? Like, what are you going to stop acting like a child and grow up? So I thought that maybe that's what was happening. So I said, listen, make sure you're sure about this decision. I don't want you to have any regrets, and I don't want you to end up resenting me in any kind of way, shape, or form. Nah. It's cool. Packed up his whole life, y'all, and put it in this expedition that he drove 16 hours to Florida to come with us. On his 16-hour route to me, the girl that he was dealing with ends up reaching out to me on Facebook. She sent me a message and she sent me a friend request. So I accepted the request and her page pops up. And I see this child who looks exactly like my narc. Hold up, what am I looking at right here? 2010. No, we in 2012. We at the end of 2012. We talking about October. We at least in October right now. Maybe October, November, right? And I'm like, December. That's when she was born. Who is this? So she gave me a little bit of time to scroll through her Facebook page so I could see what I saw. She jumps on Messenger or on the messages and says, I'm sure you've looked through my page by now. That child that you're seeing on my page, yes, that's your narc's daughter. I had her in December 2010, and now I'm 6 months pregnant with his child. Say what? Say what? No, they went to high. She said, yeah, we went to high school together. We've been friends. We started having sex. And I know it wasn't right because y'all was together. He used to come and talk to me about y'all and y'all problems. And I used to give him advice and everything. And I'm grown. I'm grown enough to know it wasn't right. I was dead wrong for sleeping with your husband. And I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is I'm pregnant now. When you left, we started, we got back in the groove and he was staying with me and my mom. And, he cried over you. He actually cried over you and them kids. So I know he loved you. I know for a fact that man loved you. But that vehicle that he's driving to Florida in, that's mine. And I didn't give him permission to take it. They had wrote some fake checks. The checks they put into her bank account. They pulled the money out before the bank realized it was a fake or bounce check. So now she owed the money back, but they used that money to get the vehicle that he was driving to Florida to come get me in. And she refused to allow it. Like, are you kidding me? I got kids. Because that was just 2 with him. She had like 3 other kids with 2 other men. Yeah, she was one of them. And she ended up, telling me about that. And I remember calling him and telling him, turn around. Turn around now. I don't want you to come back here. Please don't come down here. You are horrible. Like, who made you like this? I just couldn't wrap my brain cells around the type of individual that I thought I was in love with. Like, what kind of love is this? This cannot be my life. This cannot and will not be my life. But he was already en route. And I forgot what he said to gaslight me or manipulate me. Into still letting them come down and come in with me. But I did. I'm going to end this episode here. We will pick up with him arriving in Florida and what happened down there. 2012, and we didn't get divorced till 2020. 20 years with a narcissist. I want to thank you all so very much for joining me. I hope that you come back again and again until at the very end, whenever that may be, way in the future. Just remember that you are guided, you are protected, and you are safe.